In the last few weeks, there has been a ridiculous number of Font 9A and V17 boulder problems climbed, bearing in mind that just a few years ago, we didn't have a single Font 9A or V17 confirmed. We've had Simon Lorenzi making the 4th ascent of Daniel Woods' problem, Return of the Sleepwalker, and in doing so has brought his Font 9A tally up to 4, equaling that of Will Bosey. Next up, Noah Wheeler has made the 2nd ascent of Sean Bailey's Font 9A, Shaolin. And last but by no means least, Nicolai Uznik has made the 1st ascent of a new Font 9A in Maltertal, Austria, called Mount Doom. And finally, we've got some insight from Stefano Ghisolfi as to what his 2 remaining French 9Bs are whilst he's out in Spain, and whether or not we can expect to see him back in Flathanger on silence again later this year. Belgian climber Simon Lorenzi has made the 4th ascent of Return of the Sleepwalker after Daniel Woods, Will Bosey and Noah Wheeler. The boulder was also his 4th 9A, his first being his own first ascent, Sudan Sol, the second being Alfane in Koronico, and third and final being Burden of Dreams in Lapnor, Finland. The only person to match this tally is Will Bosey, although he hasn't climbed Sudan Sol, but he has climbed Aidan Roberts' Spots of Time. As we said within the introduction, it was only just a few years ago that we didn't have a confirmed and repeated Font 9A, and now we've literally got people boshing them out left, right and centre. And Simon and Will are definitely at the forefront of this rampage with an extremely focused approach. And we're only in March. What's the rest of 2025 going to bring? Elsewhere in Red Rocks, Noah Wheeler has made the 2nd ascent of Sean Bailey's 9A V17 Shaolin. The problem features an iconic and utterly outrageous cut-loose move which requires absolute raw power to control. Wheeler started working the problem back in January, attempting to link the crux section, which involves 2 Font 8C moves that have to be done with perfect accuracy. This has to be done after the Font 8B start, hence why it deserves the 9A grade. After 7 days on the problem in January, another 7 in February, he completed the problem in early March. This is Noah's 2nd Font 9A after Return of the Sleepwalker, which is also in Red Rocks. Now Noah, if you're watching this, which you probably aren't, come over to the UK and repeat Will Bosey's Honey Badger if you can, as and when and if it ever dries out again, because we all want to know whether or not it's really Font 8C plus or if it is indeed harder. Nicolai Uznik has made the 1st ascent of Mount Doom, a new Font 9A in Maltertal, Austria. It feels like this has flown a little under the radar considering the significance of this ascent. It is after all a first ascent and not a repeat, and new Font 9As don't get put up every week, although they do get put up a lot more frequently than they once did. For those of you who haven't heard of Nicolai Uznik, he was the European Bouldering Champion back in 2022 and he was 5th in the World Bouldering Championships back in 2023. He's also climbed up to Font 8C Plus previously outdoors and even came close to flashing Font 8C earlier this year, instead climbing it on his 2nd attempt. There is currently very little information out there on the problem, although a video and more information are supposedly incoming. However, 8a.nu managed to get in touch with him, and here's what he had to say about it. In general, it's very crimpy and intense. You have 8 to 9 moves of 8B+/8C intro into hide and seek, 8 moves or so without any rest, which makes it super hard to link. It's super tensiony, and you need to be on point the whole time, because at any second you can slip or miss a hold slightly, which will affect your chances of doing it. And that's all we have on that for now, but watch this space, I'm sure that more information will be forthcoming. And finally, we got in touch with Stefano Ghisolfi off the back of success on the Full Journey and Sleeping Lion, his 2 9Bs so far whilst he's been out in Spain, to find out what the other 2 were. And his answer were 2 Chris Sharma classics, albeit 2 Chris Sharma classics at 2 different crags. Neanderthal in Sant'Elia and Fight or Flight at Oliana. He also said that he'd tried Neanderthal previously and enjoyed the style. However, Fight or Flight he has never been on before, so it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on with that. Could we see 4 9Bs climbed by the time that he finishes his trip in Spain. We also asked him if he was going to go back to flat hanger later this year in order to try silence once again. Now, he acknowledged that if he was on good form, he definitely would, but he also acknowledged that silence is on an absolute other level in terms of difficulty. And in order to do it, he'd have to be both physically and mentally stronger. But he also said that he has Move in his back pocket. Having tried it last year, he's also keen to get on that. So he's got 2 concurrent projects, with silence being the ultimate aim. That's it for this week. Tune in next week for more news and maybe more Font 9As.